Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you very much for joining today. A very special day. It's the Holi, celebration of Holi, which is such a happy festival, happy occasion. And also it is Gaura Purnima. Gaur means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Purnima means full moon. He appeared today, 500 and something years ago. And he is the Yugavatar, very important for us because he showed the way of how to become free in this life by simply chanting the Lord's names. And in that way, we can free ourselves of this world. It's such an amazing philosophy and really powerful, very, very powerful philosophy. But today, we wanted to continue with the Canto number 2. We're on the 9th chapter, answers. So last week, we saw all the different questions come from Parikshit Maharaj. And today, Sukadeva Goswami begins the answering by citing the Lord's version. Very interesting chapter. So let's, let me just, hang on a minute. Let me just pause this for a minute. Are you going to recite the English, Devi?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Fantastic. And we have the incredibly talented Shruti with us. Hare Krishna, Shruti.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So over to you. You are welcome to cite whatever prayers you like before you start.
How many verses are we doing, Prabhuji, in the first set?
Good question. It is 8 verses.
Okay.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Atma Mayamrite Rajan. Parasyanubhavatmanah. न घटेतार्थसम्बन्धः स्वप्नद्रष्टुरिवाञ्छसा.
Shri Shukadeva Goswami said, O king, unless one is influenced by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no meaning to the relationship of the pure soul in pure consciousness with the material body. That relationship is just like a dreamer seeing his own body work.
बहुरूप इवा भाति मायया बहुरूपया रममाणो गुणेश्वस्य ममाहम् इति मन्यते.
The illusioned living entity appears in so many forms offered by external energy of the Lord. While enjoying in the modes of material nature, the encaged living entity misconceives, thinking in terms of I and mine.
यर्हि वावमहिं स्वे परस्मिन् कालमाययोः रमेत गतसम्मोहस्त्यक्तोदास्ते तदोभयम्.
As soon as the living entity becomes situated in its constitutional glory and begins to enjoy the transcendence beyond time and material energy, he at once gives up the two misconceptions of life, I and mine, and thus becomes fully manifested as the pure self.
आत्मतत्त्वविशुद्ध्यर्थम् यद् आह भगवान् ऋतम् ब्रह्मणे दर्शयन् रूपम् अव्यलीकव्रतादृतः.
O King, the personality of Godhead, being very much pleased with Lord Brahma because of his non-deceptive penance in Bhakti Yoga, presented his eternal and transcendental form before Brahma. And that is the objective goal for purifying the conditioned soul.
Sa adidevo jagatam paro guruh swadheshnyam asthaya sishrikshayekshata tam nadhyagachhadrasham atra sammatam prapancha nirmana vidhiryaya bhavet.
Lord Brahma, the first spiritual master, the supreme in the universe, could not trace out the source of his lotus seat. And while thinking of creating the material world, he could not understand the proper direction for such creative work, nor could he find out the process for such creation.
Sachintayant Ksharamekadam bhasyupashrinodvir gaditam vacho vibhuh sparsheshu yat shodasham ekavimsham nishkinchananam nrapayadhanam viduh.
While thus engaged in thinking in the water, Brahmaji heard twice from nearby two syllables joined together. One of the syllables was taken from the 16th and the other from the 21st of the Sparsha alphabets, and both joined to become the wealth of the renounced order of life.
Nishamyatadvaktridrikshayadisho vilokya tatranyadapashyamanah swadhishnyamasthaya vivrishya tadhitam tapasyupadishta iva dadhe manah.
When he heard the sound, he tried to find the speaker, searching on all sides. But when he was unable to find anyone besides himself, he thought it was wise to sit down on his lotus seat and firmly and give his attention and execution of penance as he was instructed.
Divyam sahasrabdam amogha darshano jitanilatma vijito bhayendriyah atapyatasmakhila lokatapanam tapastapiyam stapatam samahitah.
Lord Brahma underwent penances for 1,000 years by the calculation of the demigods. He heard this transcendental vibration from the sky, and he accepted it as divine. Thus he controlled his mind and senses, and the penances he executed were a great lesson for the living entities. Thus he is known as the greatest of all ascetics.
Very good reading. Amazing. Okay, so let's have a look at these first 8 verses. Now, Brahma's austerities. Sukadeva Goswami tells Parikshit that Lord Brahma, he could not trace out the source of his lotus seed. So he sprouted, the lotus flowers or the stem sprouted from the Lord's navel. On top of the flower was seated Lord Brahma. And he was wondering, what's going on? He appeared, but he didn't know what to do. Now, who is this Lord Brahma? Very important to understand that Lord Brahma is actually an ordinary living entity like you and me, but he's very pious, very powerful. He has either in his past life or he's come from the spiritual world, he has done so much tapasya that he is now in charge of the secondary creation. The primary creation is done by the Lord. And then the Lord inspires a living entity like Lord Brahma to do the secondary creation within this material world. So Lord Brahma's position, although exalted, is that of an ordinary living entity. So we can attain the position of Brahma if we so desired. Of course, it's not a position that we really want to have, as we'll see in later cantos. Quite an onerous position. But Lord Krishna's position, Lord Vishnu's position, we cannot ever have. He is the Supreme Lord. We can never become Vishnu. We can become Brahma. So anyway, going back to the pastime related by Sukadeva Goswami, Brahma could not trace the source of his lotus seat. And while thinking of creating the material world, Brahma heard two syllables joined together, tappa, which means austerity, tap. Brahma searched for the speaker of the sound, but he was unable to trace the source. But he was inspired and directed by the Lord within the heart to perform tapa, austerities, for 1,000 celestial years for the purpose of creation. So this Lord Brahma is a very pious living entity. That's why he's Lord Brahma. He is the most pious of all personalities. He hasn't attained the spiritual world, but he's attained the most powerful position in this material world. But what is the use? His life is long, 311 trillion years and 40 billion on top. So he lives a long, long, long life. But what is the use? Because he still has to die after 311 trillion 40 billion years. So although it's a long life, it's still not long enough because we want to go back to the spiritual world. So let's continue with text number 9 and see where this is going. Hare Krishna Shruti. Now I can tell you how many slokas. It is going to be up to number 17.
Okay.
Thank you.
तस्मै स्वलोकं भगवान् सभाजितः सन्दर्शयाम् आस परं नयत्परं व्यपेतसङ्क्लेशविमोहसाध्वसं स्वदृष्टवद्भिर्पुरुषैरभिष्टुतम्.
The personality of Godhead, being thus very much satisfied with the penance of Lord Brahma, was pleased to manifest his personal abode, Vaikuntha, the supreme planet above all others. This transcendental abode of the Lord is adored by all self-realized persons, freed from all kinds of miseries and fear of illusory existence.
प्रवर्तते यत्र रजस्तमश्चयोः सत्त्वं च मिश्रं न च कालविक्रमः न यत्र माया किमुता परे हरे अनुव्रता यत्र सुरासुरार्चिताः.
In that personal abode of the Lord, the material modes of ignorance and passion do not prevail, nor is there any of their influence in goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time. So what to speak of the illusory, external energy? It cannot enter that region. Without discrimination, both the demigods and the demons worship the Lord as devotees.
श्यामावदाता शतपत्रलोचनाः विशङ्गवस्त्राः सुरुचः सुपेशसः सर्वे चतुर्बाहव उन्मिषन्मणि प्रवेकनिष्काभरणा सुवर्चसः.
The inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets are described as having a glowing sky bluish complexion. Their eyes resemble lotus flowers, their dresses of yellowish color, and their bodily features very attractive. They are just the age of growing youths, and they have all 4 hands. They are all nicely decorated with pearl necklaces and with ornamental medallions, and they all appear to be effulgent.
प्रवाल वैदूर्यमृणालवक्षसः परिस्फुरत्कुण्डलमौलिमालिनः.
Some of them are effulgent like coral and diamonds in complexion and have garlands on their heads, blooming like lotus flowers, and some wear earrings.
भ्राजेष्णुभीर्यः परितो विराजते लसद्विमानावलिभिर्महात्मनां विद्योतमानः प्रमदोत्तमाद्युभिः सवेद्युदभ्रावलिभिर्यथा नभः.
Vaikuntha planets are also surrounded by various airplanes, all glowing and brilliantly situated. These airplanes belong to the great Mahatmas or devotees of the Lord. The ladies are as beautiful as lightning because of their celestial complexion, and all these combined together appear just like the sky decorated with both clouds and lightning.
श्रीर्यत्र रूपिण्युरुगाय पादयोः करोति मानं बहुधा विभूतिभिः प्रेङ्खं श्रिताया कुसुमाकरानुगैः विगीयमाना प्रियकर्म गायति.
The goddess of fortune, in her transcendental form, is engaged in the loving service of the Lord's lotus feet, and being moved by the black bees, followers of spring, she is not only engaged in variegated pleasure, service to the Lord, along with her constant compassions, but is also engaged in singing the glories of the Lord's activities.
ददर्श तत्राखिलसात्वतां पतिं श्रियः पतिं यज्ञपतिं जगत्पतिं सुनन्दनन्द प्रबलार्हणादिभिः स्वपार्षदाग्रैः परिसेवितां विभुम्.
Lord Brahma saw in the Vaikuntha planets the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the entire devotee community, the Lord of the goddess of fortune, the Lord of all sacrifices, and the Lord of the universe, and who is served by the foremost servitors, like Nand, Sunand, Prabal, and Nand, his immediate associates.
भृत्य प्रसादाभिमुखं दृगासवं प्रसन्नहासारुणलोचनाननं किरीटिनं कुण्डलिनं चतुर्भुजं पीतांशुकं वक्षसि लक्षितं श्रिया.
The personality of Godhead, seen leaning favorably towards his loving servitors, his very sight intoxicating and attractive, appeared to be very much satisfied. He had a smiling face decorated with enchanting reddish hue. He was dressed in yellow robes and wore earrings and a helmet on his head. He had 4 hands, and his chest was marked with the lines of the goodness of the goddess of fortune.
अध्यर्हणीयासनम् आस्थितं परं भृतं चतुषोडशपञ्चकपाणिना च शक्तिभिः युक्तं भगैः स्वैरितरत्र चाध्रुवैः स्व एव धामन् रममाणम् ईश्वरम्.
The Lord was seated on his throne and was surrounded by different energies like the 4, the 16, the 5, and the 6 natural opulences, along with other insignificant energies of the temporary character. But he was the factual Supreme Lord, enjoying his own abode.
Well done. Thank you very much. Let me just... Good. So, little description here of Vaikuntha. Thereafter, the Supreme Lord. So, Brahma was doing his tapasya. And the Lord became pleased with him and revealed himself. But not just revealed himself. He also revealed his own abode to Brahma. So, the spiritual worlds are full of goddesses of fortune who are serving him with all opulence. And Sukadeva Goswami gives a description of the abode of the Lord and the abode of the Lord. So, this is a really interesting painting. Let's take some of the descriptions. The inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets are described as having a glowing blue, a sky bluish complexion. So this is this is the Supreme Lord Narayan, Lakshmi Devi next to him. And these are the servants of the Lord, but they look exactly like the Lord. So it gets a little confusing. Their bodily features can be exactly the same as the Supreme Lord. Their eyes resemble lotus flowers. Their dress is yellowish, if you see. Now, in this world, we like to have a lot of variety, different kurtas and saris, etc., colors, some bright, some dull. But the Lord loves this yellow. And so do his associates. And they all tend to wear yellow. They never get bored. This yellow is a very special color. They're just the age of glowing youth. There's no old age in the spiritual world. They have 4 hands. So even the associates of the Lord has 4 hands, but also his associates have 4 hands. They're all nicely decorated with pearl necklaces, with ornamental medallions, and they appear to be effulgent. I just look at some more descriptions. The Vaikuntha planets are surrounded by various aeroplanes, like these here, all glowing and brilliantly situated. These aeroplanes belong to the great Mahatmas, or devotees of the Lord. The ladies are as beautiful. They're all regarded actually as goddesses of fortune. He's surrounded by them. They're as beautiful as lightning because of their celestial complexions. The description is also given of the goddess of fortune. And the Lord himself is described. He has a smiling face decorated with enchanting reddish hue, dressed in yellowy robes, wears earrings, he's got a helmet, he's got 4 hands, his chest is marked with the lines of goddess of fortune. He's seated on a throne and it's surrounded by his different energies. So this is a fascinating description given of spiritual world. So let's continue. So let me just see how many verses there are. Up to 24 now, huh, Shruti?
24. Okay, Prabhu. तद्दर्शनाह्लाद परिप्लुतान्तरो हृष्यत्तनुः प्रेम भराश्रुलोचनः ननाम पादाम्बुजम् अस्य विश्वसृग् यत्पारमहंस्येन पथाधिगम्यते.
Lord Brahma Thus, seeing the personality of Godhead in his fullness, was overwhelmed with joy within his heart, and thus, in full transcendental love and ecstasy, his eyes filled with tears of love. He thus bowed down before the Lord. That is the way of the highest perfection for a living being.
Parama.
Parama.
Hamsa. Very good.
सम्प्रीयमाणं समुपस्थितं कविं प्रजाविसर्गे निजशासनार्हणं बभाष ईषत् स्मितशोचिषा गिरा प्रियं प्रीतमनाः करे स्पृशन्.
Brahma present before him, the Lord accepted him as worthy to create living beings, to be controlled as he desired, and thus being much satisfied with him. The Lord shook hands with Brahma and, slightly smiling, addressed him thus.
This is really incredible. He shook hands with Lord Brahma.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Tvayaham Toshitah Samyak Vedagarbhasi Srikshaya Chiram Bhritena Tapasa Dustoshah Kuta Yoginam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I'll be reading now.
No problem. Thank you, Shavi. Really good reading. Thank you, Punamataji. Thank you very much.
The beautiful personality of Godhead addressed Lord Brahma. O Brahma, impregnated with the Vedas, I am very much pleased with your long accumulated penance, with the desire for creation. Hardly am I pleased with the pseudo-mystics.
Varam varaya bhadram te varesham abhivanchitam brahman shreyah parishramah pumsam maddarshanavadhihi.
I wish you good luck. O Brahma, you may ask from me, the giver of all benediction, all that you may desire. You may know that the ultimate benediction as the result of all penances is to see me by realization.
Manishitanuභavoyam mama lokavalokanam yadupashritya rahasi chakartha paramam tapah.
The highest perfectional ingenuity is the personal perfection of my abodes, and this has been possible because of your submissive attitude in the performance of severe penance according to my order.
प्रत्यादिष्टं मया तत्र त्वयि कर्म विमोहिते तपो मे हृदयं साक्षात् आत्माहं तपसो नघ.
O sinless Brahma, you may know from me that it was I who first ordered you to undergo penance when you were perplexed in your duty. Such penance is my heart and soul, and therefore penance and I are none different.
सृजामि तपसैवेदं ग्रसामि तपसा पुनः बिभर्मि तपसा विश्वं वीर्यं मे दुश्चरं तपः.
I create this cosmos by such penance. I maintain it by the same energy, and I withdraw it all by the same energy. Therefore, the potency is penance only.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let's have a little break there. So the Lord is pleased. Upon seeing the Lord, Brahma was overjoyed, overwhelmed with joy, and in ecstasy his eyes filled with tears. The Lord expressed his pleasure with the penances that Brahma had performed, because that's what he was guided by the Lord within the heart. And the Lord shook his hand. I find that really fascinating. He explained that the highest benediction is to see the Lord face to face. And now Brahma was actually doing that. And he composed this Brahma Samhita after seeing the Lord, having darshan of his abode, and getting the realizations from the Lord. So his Brahma Samhita is a very important scripture. And unfortunately, it's only one chapter that we have. Everything else has been lost over time. But that one chapter is sufficient. It's a really phenomenal chapter. He explained that the highest benediction is to see the Lord face to face. And this has been possible because of Brahma's submissive attitude. So in spiritual life, or in any field, actually, to succeed, one has to be submissive. One has to listen and understand. So nothing different about that in spiritual context as well. One has to be submissive. If one is always challenging, one will always be listening to oneself rather than listening to the knowledge that is being given to him. It'll always be challenging. It'll always be, it's not that we accept everything blindly, but there has to be this mood of submission, of wanting to understand. Very, very important. That if we have that mood, right mood, then we will learn. If we have the wrong mood, even if we're intelligent, we won't get it. So this is what the Lord is explaining to Brahma. So the next section is up to 30. Yes, 30 verses, up to number 30.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Brahmovacha Bhagavan Sarvabhutanam Adhyaksho Vasthito Guham Vedahya Pratiruddhena Prajnanena Chikirshitam.
Lord Brahma said, O personality of Godhead, you are situated in every living entity's heart as the supreme director, and therefore you are aware of all endeavors by your superior intelligence, without any hindrance whatsoever.
Tathapi natha manasya nathanathaya nathitam Paravare yatha rupe janiyam te tvarupinah.
In spite of that, my Lord, I am praying to you to kindly fulfill my desire. May I please be informed how, in spite of your transcendental form, you assume the mundane form, although you have no such form at all?
Yathatma maya yogena nana shakti upabrimhitam vilumpant visrajan grihnan bibhradatmanam.
And please inform me, have you, by your own self, manifest different energies for annihilation, generation, acceptance, and maintenance by combination and permutation?
क्रीडस्य मोघसङ्कल्पः ऊर्णनाभिर्यथोर्नुते तथा तद्विषयां देहि मनीषां मयि माधव.
O Master of all energies, please tell me philosophically all about them. You play like a spider that covers itself by its own energy, and your determination is infallible.
भगवच्चिक्षितम् अहं करवाणि ह्यतन्द्रितः नेहमानः प्रजासर्गं बध्येयं यद् अनुग्रहात्.
Please tell me so that I may be taught in the matter by the instruction of the personality of Godhead, and may thus act instrumentally to generate living entities without being conditioned by such activities.
यावत् सखा सख्युरिवेशते कृतः प्रजा विसर्गे विभजामि भोजनम्. अविक्लवस्ते परिकर्मणि स्थितो मामे समुन्नद्धमदो जमानिनः.
O my Lord, the unborn, you have shaken hands with me just as a friend does with a friend, as if equal in position. I shall be engaged in the creation of different types of living entities, and I shall be occupied in your service. I shall have no perturbation, but I pray that all this may not give rise to pride, as if I were the supreme.
Very interesting indeed. So, Brahma expresses the desire to know about the Lord's spiritual and material forms. Of course, how can the Lord take material form? He's spiritual. So Brahma was inquisitive. How do you manifest yourself in this world? How does the Lord create, maintain, and annihilate the creation? And he requested that he be empowered to do his service of creation, the secondary creation. But he wanted to do it in such a way that he would not become proud or entangled by this work. This is intelligence. Because if we're not careful, it's very easy to become proud in this world, that I am the doer, I am doing this and I am doing that. It's only because of me this is working. But of course, it's not. We are we're one factor, one small factor of action. So, very nice prayer by Lord Brahma. Please let me do my duty, but not be entangled by pride in doing that duty. Very good prayer. So up to verse number 37, please, Shruti.
Yes, Prabhuji. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Jnanam Paramaguhyam Me Yad Vijnana Samanditam Sarahasyam Tad Angam Cha Grihana Gaditam Maya.
The personality of Godhead said, knowledge about me, as described in the scriptures, is very confidential, and it has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service. The necessary paraphernalia for that process is being explained by me. You may take it up carefully.
Yavan aham yatha bhavo yad rupa guna karma kah tathaiva tattva vijnanam astu te mad anugrahat.
All of me, namely my actual eternal form and my transcendental existence, color, qualities, and activities, let all be awakened within you by factual realization out of my causeless mercy.
The next three verses, oh, sorry. The next three verses, 34 to 37, are considered to be the Bij slokas, the Chaturu sloki. It's the seed sloks for the whole of the Bhagavatam. They all revolve around these four verses coming up.
Aham evasam evagre nanyat yat sadasat param paschad aham yadetatcha yo vashishyeta sosmyaham.
Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself. Nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead.
Vritirtham yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyatmano mayam yatha bhaso yatha tamah.
O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. No, it is my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness.
यथा महान्ति भूतानि भूतेषु चावचेष्वनु प्रविष्टान्यप्रविष्टानि तथा तेषु न तेष्वहम्.
O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created and at the same time I'm outside of everything.
एतावद् एव जिज्ञास्यम् तत्त्वजिज्ञासुनात्मनः अन्वयव्यतिरेकाभ्याम् यत् स्यात् सर्वत्र सर्वदा.
A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly.
एतन्मतं समातिष्ठ परमेण समाधिना भवान् कल्पविकल्पेषु न विमुह्यति कर्हिचित्.
O Brahma, just follow this conclusion by a fixed concentration of mind, and no pride will disturb you, neither in the partial nor in the final devastation.
Brilliant. Thank you. So, Chatusloki is from 33, 34, 35, 36. The Lord answered in 4 verses, known as the Chatusloki. He explained how he is existing before, during, and after the creation. This is a basic fact about the Supreme Lord. How anything that is seen without relationship to him is simply illusion. And this is the third point, is very inconceivable. Lord is within everything by his energies, yet at the same time he lives eternally in his abode in the spiritual world. He's everywhere, but at the same time he's not. He's not present in everything. A person who is searching after the Supreme Lord must search for it in all circumstances. So these 4 slokas are very, very important. They're regarded to be the bij, the seed mantras of the whole of the Bhagavatam. Okay. So now it's right up to the end, Shruti.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
श्रीशुक उवाच सम्प्रदिश्यैवम् अजनो जनानां परमेष्ठिनम् पश्यतस्तस्य तद्रूपम् आत्मनोऽन्यरुणद्धरिः.
Shukadev Goswami said to Maharaj Parikshit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, after being seen in his transcendental form, instructing Brahmaji, the leader of the living entities, disappeared.
अन्तर्हितेन्द्रियार्थाय हरये विहिताञ्जलिः सर्वभूतमयो विश्वं ससर्जेदं पूर्ववत्.
On the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is the object of transcendental enjoyment for the senses of devotees, Brahma, with folded hands, began to recreate the universe, full with living entities, as it was previously.
प्रजापतिर्धर्मपतिर्एकदा नियमान् यमान् भद्रं प्रजानाम् अन्विच्छन् आतिष्ठत् स्वार्थकाम्यया.
Thus, once upon a time, the forefather of living entities and the father of religiousness, Lord Brahma, situated himself in acts of regulative principles, desiring self-interest for the welfare of all living entities.
तं नारदः प्रियतमो रिक्थादानाम् अनुव्रतः शुश्रूषमाणशीलेन प्रशयेन दमेन च.
Narad, the most dear of the inheritor sons of Brahma, always ready to serve his father, strictly follows the instructions of his father by his mannerly behavior, meekness, and sense control.
मायां विविदिशन् विष्णोर् मायेशस्य महामुनिः महाभागवतो राजन् पितरं पर्यतोषयत्.
Narad, very much pleased his father and desired to know all about the energies of Vishnu, the master of all energies. For Narad was the greatest of all sages and greatest of all devotees, O king.
तुष्टं निशाम्य पितरं लोकानां प्रपितामहं देवर्षिः परिपप्रच्छ भवान्यन्मानुपृच्छति.
The great sage Narad also inquired in detail from his father Brahma, the great grandfather of all the universe, after seeing him.
तस्मा इदं भागवतं पुराणं दशलक्षणं प्रोक्तं भगवता प्राह प्रीतः पुत्राय भूतकृत्.
Thereupon the supplementary Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, which was described by the personality of Godhead and which contains 10 characteristics, was told with satisfaction by the father Brahma to his son.
नारदः प्राह मुनये सरस्वत्यास्तटे नृप ध्यायते ब्रह्म परमं व्यासायाम् इत तेजसे.
In succession, O king, the great sage Narad instructed Srimad Bhagavatam unto the unlimitedly powerful Vyasadeva, who meditated in devotional service upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, on the bank of the
river Saraswati.
यद् उताहं त्वया पृष्टो वैराजात् पुरुषात् इदं यथासीत् तद् उपाख्यास्ते प्रश्नान्नन्यांश्च कृत्स्नशः.
O king, your questions as to how the universe became manifested from the gigantic form of the personality of Godhead, as well as other questions, I shall answer in detail by explanation of the 4 verses already mentioned.
Brilliant. Thank you. Chapter 4.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So, after explaining this Chatusloki, the Lord disappeared and Brahma began his work of secondary creation, Visarga. And Narad Muni originally asked these questions from Brahma. So, Shukadeva Goswami just explains how Narad Muni is such a loyal disciple of his spiritual master. And then Narad Muni, Shukadeva Goswami also explains to Parikshit that his questions as to how the universe became manifested from the gigantic form of the personality of Godhead, as well as the other questions he asked, will be answered in detail by explanation of these 4 beach verses that were already given above. So that's the end of chapter 9, which is in many ways the essence of the Bhagavatam, because this is where the Lord shows his kindness to Brahma by being pleased with him for his loyalty and his sincerity, his humility, and then he reveals the spiritual science. And this is the essence of Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is all about revealing this confidential knowledge of the Supreme Lord. It's confidential, it's secret, but to the devotees, it's given freely. So we're very fortunate. If we have the right mood, we will get the Bhagavatam. We will understand it, we will read it, we will understand it, we will take it to heart, and we will live it, which is the most important thing. So, any questions, any comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Purnamaji.
I have a question, Prabhuji.
Sure.
Prabhuji, I mean, my understanding was that it was Kshirodakshai Vishnu.
Hmm.
So I mean, I visualized it as, Vishnu is, in the ocean, and from his navel, Lord Brahma comes. But when you shared the picture of Vaikunth, I am a bit. I was just trying to visualize. Probably it might not be required, but I just wanted to understand that
Yeah.
does this creation happen within the ocean, or why we're then discussing about Vaikunth?
Sure. So this is where we are. Right? Good question. Very nice question. What we were seeing is this, Narayan, where Lord Brahma went to Vaikuntha. That's where Narayan lives. So Lord Brahma, he was born, and then he's meditating on the Lord. He's born from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is the Paramatma form who enters into every living entity. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu enters into every universe. From Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, the lotus sprouts upon which Lord Brahma is born. And Brahma at that time is meditating. And the Lord reveals himself. But who reveals himself? It's not Garbhodakshaya Vishnu who reveals himself. It's Narayan who reveals himself. And he takes him to the Vaikuntha planets to give him a glimpse of Vaikuntha, the abode of the Lord. Why does the Lord do that? Why does he give him the glimpse of the Lord, his abode? Remember, Brahma is going to be creating. So the Lord wants him to get a flavor of creation in 2 aspects. One, that this is what it looks like in Vaikuntha. So you can get inspired from this. But secondly, it's also to put his ego on hold, because Vaikuntha is so amazing, so vast, so glorious, that he will never be able to emulate Vaikuntha. So keep your ego in check. You're a creator, but you're a little creator. Don't think that you are the ultimate creator, because that's what happens. That's the ego really plays tricks. But the Lord is very kind. He tries to curb the ego. So he does one thing, it has many. So this is where he went. He went to Vaikuntha, in the land of Narayan. He didn't get darshan of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. That happens later. But at this moment in time, he got darshan of the boss of the boss of the boss, if you like, in one sense. Although they're all equal, still there is a chain of succession. Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji. So one more question, Prabhuji.
Sure.
So it makes sense, yeah, it makes sense that Lord Vishnu wants him to see what he has to create. So when he goes to Vaikuntha, everybody there has 4 hands. So why has he made us only
With 2 hands.
2 hands?
Because ultimately Krishna has 2 hands. So Brahma also had vision of Krishna. And when he had vision of Krishna, he realized, wow, Ishvara Parama Krishna. So he saw Narayan. Fair enough. 4 hands, this, that, the other. When he saw Krishna, he's composed the verse, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchitananda Vigraha, Anadi Radhir Govinda. He's the cause of everything. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Anadi Radhir Govinda, Sarva Karanam Karanam. Sarva Karanam. He's the cause of all causes. So Brahma realized that, yes, the 4-handed form is fine, but there's a higher vision. Ishvara Parama Krishna. And Krishna only has 2 hands. So in the vision, in the following the footsteps of Lord Krishna, he created everybody with 2 hands. It's a really good question. I like it, Purnamadaji. But Brahma realized that Vishnu is even subordinate to Krishna. That's why he's given everybody 2 hands. Put everybody in the vision of Krishna. There are certain living entities with 4 hands.
And Prabhuji,
Yes, go ahead.
oh,
Not
no,
human.
please go ahead. Sorry.
Not human beings.
There are certainly.
Not human beings.
Okay. Yes. When Brahmaji, I mean, when he got conscious about his being, he heard the 2 words, tapa.
Yeah.
So, was he already aware of it? I mean, what was his mental state? Was it like, a childlike, or he was already, renowned? I mean, obviously he's a renounced soul because he has done so much of tapasya. But how did he decipher it, or did he have the pre-knowledge or predisposition that, okay, this is what it means, and I'm supposed to do this?
Correct. He had the basic idea, but what he didn't have, he had the basic inclination that he knew what he had to do. He just didn't know how to do it. And he was looking for guidance. In fact, he kept looking everywhere. And it said that by keeping on turning his head, he developed those 4 heads. I don't know if that's actually in the scriptures, but this is what I've heard. So he was looking, he knew what he had to do. He just didn't know how to do it. So then he heard the 2 words, he sat in meditation, he heard the 2 words, tapa, then he really sat into deep meditation. And the Lord then within the heart revealed what he has to do, but also he gave him darshan of himself and his abode. So he had a basic conception what he had to do. So he was not like a child, he was already a grown personality. Just was a little confused about how to create. And he needed that inspiration from the Supreme Lord.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Amazing questions. Appreciate it.
Prabhuji,
Yes, Kaushalya Maji.
I just wanted to ask you, this getting cut off all the time in the middle. Is it only my phone, or is it somewhere problem everywhere?
It's a problem, I think, everywhere. You mean when Purna Mataji was speaking, or when I'm speaking as well, we're getting cut off?
Yeah.
Is anybody else?
The words were not completing like.
Is there anybody else having the same?
Like the translations.
Not for you, Prabhuji, but only when the lady stuff.
Yeah, I think maybe Purna Mataji, you might be cutting off a little earlier, muting
internet not good.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe internet is not good.
I'm having unstable connection. I don't know why, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Typical problem.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think it is this time. Yeah, it is this time of the evening, probably. I don't know. Yeah, I'm getting this message that my internet is unstable. I don't know why.
Yeah, many people using at the same
Yeah,
time.
I'm sorry about that.
Oh no.
Yes, yeah.
Got cut off again?
No,
Not for
I
me.
think that might be your issue, your side, Kaushal Maji. We heard her fine at the moment. So sometimes if there's it's an issue, what I do is I switch it off at the source and switch it back on, and usually it solves the problem. So okay, if there's no more
Yeah,
questions,
true, Prabhuji. Yeah.
I have a question.
yes, go for it.
Why the need to create the universe? I mean, why did
Who's that, Jigna?
yes?
Okay, great question, Jigna. Why the need to have a creation in the first place, right? Is that your
Yes.
question?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Because we can't live in the spiritual world. We had a desire to live away from the Lord. Effectively, we became a little envious of the Lord. And we were thinking, wow, I wonder what it's like to be the Lord. Now, only thing we can actually do is desire. And the Lord fulfills our desire. So we desire to be away from the Lord, and the Lord has created this material world where we can live separate from him, because that's what we want. But at the same time, the way he's created this universe is perfectly imperfect, which means whilst we're trying to live here away from the Lord, we will never be happy here, because we're living in a place which is full of temporary situations, a list of names. Basically, it's a list of names. And what we mean by that is we had a mother, we had a father, they were gone away now. Of course, for some, it may not be the case, but in my case, they've gone now. They're just names in one sense, right? Just a list of names. So this world is full of impermanent situations, but we are eternal beings. So the way this world is created, it's perfectly imperfect to make us go back to the spiritual world, to make us again realize that we actually don't belong here. Now, for some, it might take a little while. For some others, it might take a long time. The reason for this creation is just like, why is there a hospital in every town or village? Because somebody's not well, they're going to be cured. So in the same way, we're not well. We're in this hospital of this material world to be cured. And the doctor comes often through the scriptures, through the different avatars, through the devotees, trying to instruct us. This is the medicine. Take the medicine and you can go back to Godhead. So that's the reason. Why are there hospitals? To cure the ill. Why is the material world? To cure the conditioned souls who want to be away from God, to reform them back into the spiritual world again. Does that make sense, Jigna?
Yes, I think it's a fantastic answer, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate your question and your feedback. Okay, if there's nothing else, we shall.
Prabhuji, sorry. In the summary of the first couple of shlokas, there was some mention of 16 numbers, 16 and 20.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, that's a good question. 1 second. I think it was verse number 14. Let me just see if I can find it.
Yeah, it was there.
Oops, hang on a sec. Translation. Oh, I want the purport. Okay, let's have a quick look. Yeah, I know what you mean. It was the describing of the Lord, wasn't it? somewhere in there.
Yes.
No, I lost it actually. Here it is. The Lord was seated on his throne, surrounded by different energies like the 4, the 16, the 5, the 6 natural opulences, along with other insignificant energies. So here we go. The Lord is naturally endowed with 6 opulences. So this is the richest, most powerful, most famous, most beautiful, most knowledgeable, and he's the most renounced. So that's why he's called Bhagavan, full of 6 opulences. And then is served by 4, namely the Prakriti, the Purush, the Mahatattva, and the ego. He's also served by the 16, the 5 elements. This is the gross elements, earth, water, fire, ether. So these are all surrounding him in the spiritual world, serving him. But they're in their spiritual form, not in the material form. And then there's the 5 sense organs, eye, nose, ears, tongue and skin. Then there's the 5 working senses. We'll come across all of this quite a few times as we're going along the Bhagavatam, but in the material concept. Hands, legs, working senses are hands, legs, stomach, and the genitals. And then you've got the 5 sense objects, which is taste, form, smell, sound, touch. So all these 25 items serve the Supreme Lord in the material creation. All of them are personally present to serve the Lord in the spiritual world as well, but they have their own spiritual forms, not material forms. So it's a little complex, but we will come across this again and again.
Sure, Prabhuji, sure. Yep. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, we shall leave it at that. Thank you so much, everybody. Hare Krishna. Happy Holi, happy Gaur Purnima, and wish you a happy week so that we meet next Friday. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.